Welcome back to Arise Prime Time. I'm Charles Anyegolu. Now, August the 19th is an annual celebration of photography around the world. World Photography Day marks the art, craft, science and history of photography. Today, we all have cameras in our phones and perhaps we forget just how important the craft is. But done properly, photography can capture important moments and preserve them for future generations. In the US, nowhere is that more true than the White House. Those who photograph the goings-on in one of the most important buildings on earth capture history as it's happening. Well, to discuss the importance of photography and her work as a member of the White House Press Corps, I spoke to the news photographer Christy Bowe. Take a listen. You've been covering the White House, of course, since Bill Clinton was president. You must have seen some incredible things in that time. Give us some of your highlights and the standout moments.
Hi, Charles. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, it's been an unbelievable journey. And through the technology of photography has changed dramatically since I first started out covering President Clinton. And we used to take pictures with film cameras and process the film, and then you would make a contact sheet, make a little 5x7 black and white prints, and it would end up in the newspaper the next day. And now people are transmitting live while the president is speaking. The pictures are going around the world. So that itself has been astounding. And with the with the progression of technology and cell phone cameras, that too has been just incredible. My iPhone 12 Pro is better than my Nikon D1 and D2 when they first came out. But certainly things have happened throughout the course of the different administrations. Each president has been different. Dramatically so, and I want to think one of the pictures that kind of brought that home to me is this picture that you're seeing right now of the three presidents coming out of the Oval Office together. That particular day really brought home to me the club that the U.S. presidents have, most of them anyway, have, where no one knows what they have been through other than each other who have held this job, and sitting, behind the resolute desks and working in the Oval Office.
Well, I mean, you really have given us some extraordinary insight there. And I mean, even though they obviously know what, amongst themselves, what they've experienced, I mean, you yourself have been close to them on one level, I suppose. And I have to ask you this. I mean, do you have a favorite president of those you've covered? Are there some of them who are more photogenic? I'm just wondering what they're like up close.
Well, yes, I do have a favorite, and that was President George W. Bush. He would, he was very, very genuine, had a great sense of humor, and was very natural. So he would kid around with me specifically, and other photographers too, other members of the press. But as far as my relationship with any other presidents, he was the only one that would, joke around with me. And when you're in the Oval Office, you're not allowed to speak to the president unless he speaks to you first, unless you're a reporter, of course. And which I am not. I'm a still photographer, as you know. So it would be kind of fun to have him say to me, "Hey, how are the guys treating you today?" and things like that. And it was nice to get some special recognition, because there were back then much fewer women photographers than men, and that's still the case today, but there's more women in our field now, I'm glad to say, than there were when I first started out.
Yes, you've kind of answered my next question, which was obviously your career spanned sort of 30 years. I was curious to know what actually made you get into this line of work, particularly, as you said, at a time when there weren't many women involved.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be the photographer for Sarah McClendon, who was a maverick reporter that had her own little business, the McClendon News Service. And because I was her photographer, she taught me the ropes at the White House. And the presidents were afraid of her and Helen Thomas, because when back in the day when there used to be regular presidential press conferences, they never knew what either one of them were gonna say. And so they were always on their toes, and because they didn't mince any words. So I was really fortunate enough to learn from the best. And when I asked Helen about doing the foreword for my book, Eyes That Speak, she said she would be delighted to do that. She said actually she'd be honored, which was very touching to me. So I don't know if you guys remember Helen Thomas, but she passed away a few years ago. And while I was thinking that my book was going to be over soon, I thought at the beginning of the Obama administration that I would be done, but things kept happening. And it's very difficult to say the end when you're writing about news. And in my book, I am giving behind the scenes stories of behind the pictures that some of these pictures people have seen. And then the famous eyes, of course, so that those are different people I have photographed in the course of my career. And you might recognize some of them there, of President Trump and Aretha Franklin and Mother Teresa and Muhammad Ali and Oprah Winfrey and RBG and Muhammad Ali there. So I tell the stories of what it was like, before and after taking the picture.
Yes, I mean, we're looking at some of those pictures now, absolutely remarkable. Your book, of course, as you mentioned, Eyes That Speak, giving readers a bit of a glimpse into a world they wouldn't normally see. I mean, is there anything that'll surprise people in that book?
Well, I hope I wrote the book to be able to show people what it's like to be a news photographer. It's a very competitive occupation here. And a lot goes into taking a picture. Sometimes people just, I think, and have heard, like, how hard is that? You push the shutter and there you go. It's a lot goes into it, a lot of hurry up and wait. And you get to see, because we have to hurry up and wait almost always for, especially when you're photographing the president, then you see some nice human moments unfold before you a lot of times, like there with the Trumps coming there, walking back from Marine One after being on a holiday for a short bit. And you just, sometimes, like with President Trump holding up the newspaper where he was acquitted by the Senate, that it was the picture that I came there for. But often when you're there to take a particular picture, you find other moments before or after what you came there for that are more candid and more intimate, which is the kind of thing that I try to go for when taking pictures. Because of the fierce competition, it is important to each of us that when we're behind a velvet rope and you're limited on your angle and what you can do, you really have to try to set yourself apart from the person standing next to you. So my shots, I try to make different than the person standing next to me by waiting for those candid, natural moments, which are normally before the person is, in front of the microphone and getting ready to do what they're there to do.
Well, I mean, we've just seen some of them. I mean, I have to say they're absolutely remarkable. And you were there, of course, talking about Donald Trump. You were there during the riot at the Capitol on January the 6th last year. I mean, what was it like to be there to capture that? I mean, it must have been, at the sort of the pivot of history there.
Yes, it was. It was a very disturbing time. I have photographed different protests and uprisings from, not any war correspondence type of thing, nothing to that degree. But this was significant, where things just spiraled out of control, and you could just feel the crowd changing, the aura changing after President Trump finished speaking down the street from the Capitol. I was at the Capitol and waited for people to come up to where I was. And once different organizations like the Proud Boys got there, then there was a whole different feel to the place. And the Vice President had gotten there. Pence had gotten there just shortly before the crowd started making its way to the Capitol, so we knew he was inside. And then when people started breaking down barricades and mobbing, the mob was moving up the stairs of the Capitol, the chant kind of changed from "Stop the Steal" to "Hang Mike Pence." And that was really, really disturbing, because around the corner was a gallows and noose, which I never saw. I was on the east side of the Capitol. That was much, and there was lots happening there, because I was, yelled at by the Proud Boys because
Well, sorry we had to get in there, but that was fascinating stuff from Christy Bowe, the news photographer and member of the White House Press Corps, telling us about her work at the White House on this World Photography Day. That's it for this edition of Arise Primetime. Join us again next week. From me and the entire team here in Abuja and around the world, bye-bye and thank you for watching.